Okay, well, we've come to the end of the Alex Murdaugh murder trial, and it's been a wild ride. Ultimately, the 12 people who have the duty spoke, and they spoke quickly. So Alex Murdaugh has been convicted of murdering Maggie and Paul Murdaugh, and he maintained his innocence. But he has been sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. So Alex Murdaugh will spend the remainder of his life in a South Carolina prison. He's also facing 99 counts of financial crimes, including stealing from his law firm and clients, and some tax crimes as well. Ben's not going to be able to join us for this. He has a birthday party. I just wanted to share some quick thoughts about this trial, about the jury, and about their decisions. We can watch these videos on TV, online, we can stream them, and we can listen and watch the defendant in this trial. I was watching on Law and Crime, and they usually had a 2 or 3 split screen. So you could see the witness, you could see the attorney questioning, and you could see Alex Murdaugh most of the time. However, the jury can see more, and the jury can see things that we don't see. Most importantly, the jury sees the evidence that was presented that was under seal. There was a lot of evidence of this crime scene that was extremely gruesome that we didn't see. We could see Alex Murdaugh, but we couldn't see his full body language. And I think that's important when we look at those videos of him sitting in that car and we know he's lying about being at the kennel. The jury can see a lot of his body language in those videos. And he's answering questions, and he's saying that the last time he saw Maggie and Paul was at dinner. You can see him kind of nodding. And Creighton Waters, even in his closing argument, asked the jury to remember. He played that video and he said, remember him on the stand, and remember when he was testifying, and remember his behavior. And I think that was powerful. The jury did not trust that Alex Murdaugh was being honest with them, which is understandable. Alex Murdaugh is a liar beyond a reasonable doubt. Based on what I saw with the evidence, it would have been very difficult for me if I was on the jury to get beyond reasonable doubt. I do not believe that the state proved their case. With that said, though, my voice is not the one that matters. It's the 12 in the box. And those 12 went back into that jury room and took an initial poll, and 9 of them were guilty, and 2 of them were not guilty, and 1 of them was unsure. Let's look at the sentencing hearing. One thing that really stood out to me was the officer sitting behind Alex Murdaugh. As Creighton Waters was delivering his comments to the judge before sentencing, he was talking about nobody really knowing Alex Murdaugh. And I want you to watch this officer who's sitting behind Alex Murdaugh. He's been in this courtroom, and he has seen Alex Murdaugh's behavior. I found this pretty interesting.
No one who thought they were close to this man knew who he really was. And, Your Honor, that's chilling. And I've looked in his eyes as he would walk by.
Look at this officer's head over here in the corner over here, right here. You can just see the back of his head. He's nodding.
During this trial, and I could see the real Alex Murdaugh when he looked at me. The depravity, the callousness, the selfishness of these crimes are stunning. The lack of remorse and the effortless way in which he lies, including here sitting right over there in this witness stand. Your Honor, a man like that, a man like this man, should never be allowed to be among free law-abiding citizens again. And I would submit to you that the only just sentence here to give justice for Maggie and Paul is the maximum, and that would be 2 consecutive life sentences. Thank you, Your Honor.
Wow, that officer does not like Alex Murdaugh. He definitely thinks that Alex Murdaugh is guilty. He was in that courtroom. I've seen his face throughout this trial. We, as the public that are watching this, don't see it all, even if we watch this on TV. Creighton Waters mentioned Alex Murdaugh glaring at him as he would leave the courtroom at the end of the day and during breaks. And while he was saying that, that officer's just not. And that officer was glaring at Alex Murdaugh when Creighton Waters was calling for him to get life in prison for both of these murders. I just found that was very telling. There are things in that courtroom that I'm not aware of, that I didn't see, that I couldn't observe by watching this on my computer screen or my TV screen. And now we're going to see the defense didn't have anything to say, but Alex Murdaugh did.
Your Honor, Mr. Griffin and I would have no comment. The defendant would like to address the court, though.
Mr. Murdaugh.
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm innocent. I would never hurt my wife, Maggie, and I would never hurt my son, Paul.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
That's it. That's all Alex Murdaugh had to say. I don't know what to think about that. You've just been convicted of murdering your wife, the love of your life, the mother of your children, and your son. Just think that if that was me, I would want to say more. I would have to say more. But Alex Murdaugh didn't have much to say about it, and he sat down. So let's look at the sentencing. Let's see what the judge had to say when he sentenced him. I'm going to put this playback speed at a little higher rate at 1.5. Hopefully that's not going to be too fast.
This has been perhaps one of the most troubling cases, not just for me as a judge, for the state, for the defense team, but for all of the citizens in this community, all the citizens in this state, and as we've seen based on the media coverage throughout the nation. You have a wife who's been killed, murdered, a son savagely murdered, a lawyer, a person from a respected family who has controlled justice in this community for over a century, a person whose grandfather's portrait hang at the back of the courthouse that I had to have ordered removed in order to ensure that a fair trial was had by both the state and the defense. It was especially heartbreaking for me to see you go in the media from being a grieving father who lost a wife and a son to being the person indicted and convicted of killing them. And you've engaged in such duplicitous conduct here in the courtroom, here on the witness stand. Remind me of the expression you gave on the witness stand. Was it tangled?
Tangled up. We weave.
Oh, what tangled web we weave? What did you mean by that?
Meant when I lied, I continue to lie.
And the question is, when will it end? When will it end? And it's ended already for the jury because they've concluded that you continued to lie and lied throughout your testimony. Then, after all of the witnesses placed you at the scene of the crime, at the last minute, or last minutes or days, you switch courses and admitted to being there. And I know you have to see Paul and Maggie during the night times when you're attempting to go to sleep. I'm sure they come and visit you. I'm sure.
And every night.
I'm sure. And they will continue to do so. And reflect on the last time they looked you in the eyes, as you looked the jury in the eyes.
I think again, I respect this court, but I'm innocent. I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my wife, Maggie, and I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my son, Paul.
Well, and it might not have been you. It might have been the monster you become when you take 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 opioid pills. Maybe you become another person. I've seen that before. The person standing before me was not the person who committed the crime, though it's the same individual. We'll leave that at that. Anything further?
Nope.
All right, Mr. Murdaugh, I sentence you to the State Department of Corrections on each of the murder indictments. In the murder of your wife, Maggie Murdaugh, I sentence you for the term of the rest of your natural life. For the murder of Paul Murdaugh, whom you probably love so much, I sentence you to prison for murdering him for the rest of your natural life. Those sentences will run consecutive. That is the sentence of the court, and you are remanded to the State Department of Corrections.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. And then the judge just looked him in the eye and he said, you lie and you keep lying, but the jury didn't believe it. And the judge didn't either. And so not much law there, just the clear feelings from the judge about the tragedy of this case. We're going to see what Griffin and Karputlian and the defense team come up with as far as the appeals. One of the jurors spoke with Good Morning America, and we're going to listen to this interview with this juror about how quickly this jury came to this decision to convict Alex Murdaugh.
When you first got in the room, you took a vote?
It was 2 not guilty, 1 not sure, and 9 guilty. She started deliberating, going through the evidence. Everybody was pretty much talking. And about 45 minutes later, after all our deliberating, we figured it out.
So it took basically 45 minutes for you guys to come to a decision.
Probably about 45, maybe an hour.
That's really fast.
Yeah, the evidence was clear.
He says it was this piece of video featuring Alex's voice at the crime scene moments before the murders that convinced him.
Hear his voice clearly. And everybody else could too.
Did you feel like he was a liar?
A good liar, but not good enough.
Moyer also not convinced by moments like this.
What did you think when Alex Murdaugh took the stand?
I didn't think much of him.
Really?
Really. I didn't see any true remorse or any compassion or anything.
Even though he cried a lot on the stand.
He never cried.
He never cried. What do you mean by that?
All he did was blow snot.
Did you not see tears?
No tears.
How did you know he wasn't crying?
Because I saw his eyes. I was this close to him.
The defense said there's no way he could have done all these things, clean everything up, get it all ready, and then go to his mom's and come back in that short amount of time.
Well, I think there's just enough time.
So there you have it. That juror who was sitting near Alex Murdaugh when Alex Murdaugh was testifying, and he said that he could see his eyes and that he did not see tears. But it was that kennel video. That's the lie that got him convicted. We have 12 jurors selected from the community, and they can deliberate. They can consider everything that they've seen in the courtroom. And ultimately, it's those 12 voices that matter the most. So it's fascinating that we get to look into these and we get to see this. I think it's good to see how the justice system works in this country. Would they have gotten that conviction without the extrinsic evidence? I think that's the question. That's the question that's going to be decided on appeal, most likely. As we close out this murder trial, we look forward to considering other cases, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. If you've liked our videos, subscribe so that you get notified when we pick up another case. And if you have any suggestions for us with regard to cases to cover, please send them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And thanks again for watching.